Sometimes in life we just suffer. Sometimes it's from being totally withdrawn, or so much stress that we are totally anxious, or so tired that we are totally burnt out. But our current position is not our final destination. No, indeed. There's hope. So whether it's your personal life, your career, your relationship, your business, or your job, we say there's reason to believe again. And we present from Andy's personal development, the breakout room. It's the place for health, happiness, and prosperity. Stay tuned for more. Our next guest in the breakout room is the CEO of Core Coaching and Consulting. Core Coaching and Consulting uses the holistic, multidimensional approach of the balancing act to show companies, leaders, and individuals where they are in balance, out of balance, and why. Her name is Sharon Seivert. This is our guest. Her publication, The Superpower of Balanced Leadership in Unbalanced Times. 6 powers that will transform you into a whole leader people fearlessly follow through good times and bad. Sharon's prior professional experience includes serving as CEO of a group health plan, VP of a think tank, and director of a regional health facility. Let's welcome this leader in innovation and vision, Sharon Seivert, live in the breakout room. Okay, great. Okay, so we are live, and this is Andy of Andy's Personal Development live in the breakout room with our very special guest, Sharon Seivert, the CEO of Core Coaching and Consulting. And she's going to be sharing a whole lot of information with us this afternoon with regards to something that she's looking at with multi-dimensional approach of the balancing act to show companies, leaders, and individuals where they are in balance and out of balance and why. So Sharon, welcome. Say hi to our people who are looking on and those who will be hearing or seeing our video later. Welcome to the breakout.
Yeah. And thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you to everyone who's listening or watching. This is wonderful. I get to meet people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is fantastic, truly amazing. So we welcome you, and we pray that everything that we do will provide some level of value and content to those who are listening or supporting our podcast. We thank them for that.
Absolutely.
So Sharon, I want you to tell us about yourself, but I want to see how far you can go back in memory and help us get to understand what was your early foundational years like before you became knowledgeable of who you are and what you wanted to do.
Well, that's fun. I was actually born a musician. My parents are always telling me the story of how when I was 2 years old and would crawl over to the crib of my new sister, Irene, and sing to her the song that was popular at that time, which was Good Night, Irene, Good Night. Good night, Irene, good night. And in my little baby version, would sing that to her. And as I tell people, it's not Mozart, but it ain't bad. This is a gift that I was born with, and that I carry through to my day, because I like to make my writing musical, theme and variations musical.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So how about the teenage years? How did you discover that beyond the music and the writing, that there was something more impactful and valuable that you had to offer, and it led you all the way to CORE? How did that happen?
I was born in the Boston area, which is where I live now, north of Boston. And I grew up, however, in the Midwest, where my father's family is from.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Klan town.
Okay.
And we were the only papists. So the Klan didn't have any Black people, brown people, obviously gay people, Jewish people. They didn't have anybody else but what they call the papists. We were it. We were the target. So okay. I came very early to the issues of social action and how people need to, get freedom, use their freedom for the good of all.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of unusual for someone who is, those of you who can see me as translucent looking as I am, that this has affected my development, my writing, and wanting me to have a global impact.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for sharing. So tell us a little bit about CORE and what it represents. And this is a statement of irony. What are the core values of CORE?
The core values of CORE, yes. Well, I have the CORE Coaching and Consulting Organization, which is the partnership, the international partnership, brings this principle of creating yourself and your organizations from the inside out. Okay. In a way that helps you really be fully who you are, bring your gifts to the world. Yeah. And do so without burning out, which is a big issue in our world today.
Indeed, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you remain healthy? How do you become more healthy while you're raising the roof on what you want to do in the world?
Yeah. Great. And so how many persons would you say that philosophy would have affected since you began up to where you're now? And what are people saying about the stuff that you put out there? How is it helping them in their business, in their life? What are the core competencies that they can gain as a result of following your pattern, your advice, your philosophy?
Okay, that was about 4 questions. So let me pick one of those. Pick one of those, and you can bring me back if I slide off of one of the ones you want an answer to.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
So I want you to think, the easy way to explain this is I want you to think of the center and the 4 directions and like the compass that holds them together. Okay. And that is what we help people do for themselves, for people who are just trying to get better careers, people who are leaders and who want to do a better job of that, and strategies for the company. I mean, in other words, if you have a new business, we want you to build it from the inside out using all of these elements. So for example, for everyone, if you start in the center, in the core, that is where your gifts are. That's where your values are. That's where your presence comes from. That's what your essence is all about. Yeah. And that is what needs to be brought out in the world. Okay. And then we have people, once they've got that one down, people are always struggling to define their brand. Well, that's it. This is who you are. This is the purpose. This is the why you're in business or have this career or are going to do this new project. So that's where we always start, from the inside. And then you move out to all the other elements. The vision element is on the east. This is how you control your thoughts and your mind. So you have a different mindset, a hopeful mindset. Think of possibilities that you haven't thought of before. And then of all the possibilities you think about, you go into the vision element, which is like fire, and you focus and you get one thing done at a time. And that, by the way, helps you not burn out. You focus on just that one thing. And then once you have your agenda really clear and you know what you're doing and you have your next steps and priorities, then you really gather your tribe around you. You gather the people who are going to help you. And that then helps your village bring you out into the world. And that's a water element, of course. And then the fifth element is structure, which is, this is where the money is, where the habits get formed, where the health is, so that you are really grounded, because of course you're not going to make a difference in the world unless you're really grounded. And then the whole that holds everything together is this systems approach. This is an ancient system. We think this system is so old that it actually comes from drawings of the human body, the first drawings of the human body.
Okay.
The center, the core, and the four limbs. Yeah, that's just so old, and it's all over the world, no matter where you go, all over the world.
Yeah, interesting. Several times I noticed you mentioned the term inside out and also burnout. And I'm thinking, if we are speaking to a business owner, for example, medium to large company, and he or she is faced with tremendous challenges in managing themselves, what are some of the things that you would say directly to them that could help them better manage themselves so that they work from the inside out and avoid the effects of burnout?
Right. Well, the first thing they have to do is stop for a loving minute. They just have to stop and breathe and get back in their bodies, because they're pushing themselves so hard and they're throwing themselves out there and they're in a panic. So they're operating off of that fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response.
The amygdala.
Alert, that hyper alert. And we have the antidote for that. The cure is inside.
Okay. So Sharon, thanks for sharing. Let me see if I could pull up something here. And I just want you to comment on it a little bit.
Sure.
If I can find it, I think it's here. And
Welcome to SOS, Switch Off Stress. This application will help you relieve 6 different kinds of stress, whichever one you most need right now. You can use the SOS quiz here to find out which stress is most troubling to you at the moment. And then you can use these 1-minute techniques to break out of that stress and make your life much happier.
I love it. That's so sweet of you to bring that up. Oh my Lord, that's great.
Sharon, it sounds like an amazing tool.
Yes,
so
it is.
How can one practically apply it to the situation like what I just mentioned before?
Right. So SOS Switch Off Stress is in book form, and it's also in an app form, so that you can, you can get it. I think it's in Google Play. I think we have to renew it in the Apple Store, but you just go in and you press on these things and you have like a 1-minute technique, because what happens is that we need techniques to be really fast. People don't have time to go to the spa. They just need some relief right now. And from the time your brain signals that there's a problem, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, there's an alert, you have about 16 seconds, maybe, before that stress response starts pouring hormones into your body. And I don't know about you, but I've done that for days. So if you can get in 1 minute, if you can get some relief, you are so far ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And I do want people to realize that that's the kind of pain that we want them to just stop having.
Yeah, because too many people are struggling with it. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a talk on it, a Zoom talk, 11 a.m. Eastern in the morning, God's willing. So I just want to remind them of that, to tune in on that. It's going to be mind-boggling. Awesome.
Excellent. Excellent.
This is what I want to do, Sharon. I want you to focus on the writing. How many books were there in all?
In the Superpower of Balance series, we have 5 books.
5, yeah. Okay.
The most recent is the Superpower of Balanced Leadership in Unbalanced Times.
Right.
Which would be now.
Right. Okay, great. And what is the main concept, the main message that you are sending with these publications?
Right. I want people to know that they have the capacity, an innate capacity, to balance themselves and to experience more ease and less dis-ease. And they can self-monitor. It's like when you go into an acupuncturist or something and they feel your pulses along here, that's the, or in some other discipline, you can tell whether you have too much of something or too little of something. And you can adjust it. If you have the tools, and we have lots of free ways to get those tools, we want you to self-heal.
Okay.
We want it to be in people's hands. So that's the message of all the books.
Yeah.
And we go at it different ways.
Okay, great. Is there some sort of spiritual or soulful concept to what you do? Is that part of the entire package that you kind of offer?
This work is unapologetically soulful. If
Wow.
you look at the core corresponds to the soul of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
The air element corresponds to your mind,
Mm-hmm.
fire to will, the interactions element to your emotions, the earth element to your body, and then the environment in which you live is the synergy. But we go from the inside out. It is unapologetically soulful work.
Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Sounds really good. Now, you have partners like the Washington, D.C. Archangels.
Yes.
Tell us about your work with them and how you synergize what you're doing with what they're doing.
Right. We have a long-standing partnership with them, and their executive vice president, Randall Reed, attorney, is one of our board members. And we are in the process of developing a program for entrepreneurs to go at least national at this point. And that's the partnership that we have with them and some other people who help entrepreneurs see if they're ready for investment. So we've partnered with them because if they're getting close to investment, what angel investors want from the entrepreneur is a good, solid management team. Investors would more likely invest in a good management team than a good idea, which is so hard for entrepreneurs to believe.
Yeah.
But it's very true. So we can help them get that management team to the level that the investors are going, we go with these people. Yay. So that's the work we do with the DC Archangels.
All right, great. And I commend you for that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell us, how far are the wings of CORE in terms of the international reach? Do you have locations outside of continental USA? And what is it doing? Is it a campus something? Is it an online hybrid scenario? How do you operate it? We
have partners in Europe, in both Holland and Spain.
Yeah.
And we have clients and supporters in South America and in Asia and other places. And we're working now mostly on developing the US and Europe with an eye to South America next.
Okay. Any thoughts about coming to the Caribbean?
Yeah, and I have a new friend.
Yes, because we need more institutions like this. Not just, it's a worldwide thing, but I'm from the Caribbean, and it's specifically special to me to be associated with people who can bring that kind of information to those who need the help, need the support, need the value of the content that you all are providing and the work that you're doing.
Yes, I want to say something about that because, thank you.
Yes.
We are absolutely dedicated to bringing this to the rest of the world.
Okay.
Because we know how well it works. We know that if we teach young, entrepreneurial women in small villages about the business that they're setting up, if we teach them, they will be likely to be more successful.
Right.
And if we take to this other parts of the world, we want people to have this. And I think one of the major steps for us to go out into the world differently is to work with people like you who have you're part of the International Coach Federation, and to work with coaches to teach them this material so that they can use it for their countries, because they know how to adapt it. And I'm looking at it going, I don't have any idea, how do you speak to the interests of the people in your country? Well, just tell me and I'll be there to help you.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the thing that we're looking at, is to have the specialists on the ground for those cultures.
Okay. That's wonderful, Sharon. Thank you for sharing. So in terms of the people that are your clientele, is it a specialist service that you're looking to offer, mainly people in business? Do you have anyone outside of that realm of possibility in terms of persons who are entrepreneurs, career-minded persons?
Yeah.
They may be accountants, lawyers, they may work in the oil industry. How far and wide does your variety of clientele go?
Wow. I have worked myself and I'll bring in my colleagues in a little bit. I have worked extensively in the financial services and the healthcare industry. And my clients have worked and I've worked in law firms. They have worked in law firms and banks, big banks, and in manufacturing, like the big car manufacturers, and on and on. We have quite a diversified portfolio in that. People who are having trouble with their teams or their strategic planning, that sort of thing, call us in because they know that that our process is kind of elegantly simple. So everyone on the team can work together with this. We've also worked in schools, and we have a part of this that we bring to youth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an example of people who've come to me and said, we really need to have this in the schools. I'm going, I don't know how to do that. I don't have any idea. I work with these people here, these CEOs here, and they have brought me in and showed us how to adapt the work for children. And there is nothing we've done that's more gratifying than that.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. That's wonderful. So I just want to go to something that is a bit personal, but I found the message in it was just so powerful in terms of family, appreciation, and love. And I just want to get your comments on it. It's not that time of the year, but it's all right. The message is what I'm looking at. It's really a powerful message.
I want to celebrate this Thanksgiving holiday by telling you one of my favorite family stories. I call it When Myra Met Jack and Took Him Home for Thanksgiving. My beautiful mother, Myra McLaughlin of the Brighton section of Boston, Massachusetts, met Jack Seivert, a dashing young officer from Primgar, Iowa, on a fateful Thanksgiving day in the middle of the dark days of World War II. My mother and her cousins had just had a big Irish feast and had taken off to go to a matinee in Harvard Square. When the matinee was done, they went into a coffee shop where they found 3 lonely, far away from home young officers and decided to take them home for leftovers. Now, my mother and dad tell me that during the war, it was very common for the Boston Irish to bring home soldiers and sailors who were far away from home for a good home-cooked meal, because they didn't know when the next time they were going to have a really decent meal. And they did this out of gratitude for their service, fighting for democracy, and also out of kindness and compassion that they were alone and away from family. So Dad and his friends.
Wow.
That's so sweet. You have researched me, man. I can't hide anything from you. You got
Wow.
you
Wow.
you like that, huh?
It's amazing.
Oh,
I mean, it's like what you read in those
oops.
fantasy stories, this wonderful happy ending. It's all about family, love, appreciation, values that seem to be missing in the world. And Sharon?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah,
Yeah.
we froze. I think Misha.
Okay.
That is so kind of you to say that. This is a very treasured family story. We have more, but we love that story. And I didn't know this story until I was an adult. I mean, really, relatively recently,
Yeah.
when my parents and I were touring around Harvard Square, where I used to live,
Mhm.
and Mom said, "That's where your dad and I met." And I went, "What?" So we had to sit everyone down at a cafe while I heard the story for the first time.
It is an amazing story and a fantastic piece of your legacy. And I'm glad that you were able to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So,
And let me say one thing.
yeah, sure.
There's a huge part of the world that is currently at war.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to just send my love and gratitude to the freedom fighters
Yeah.
who are in Ukraine,
Yes.
and ask everyone who is around the world. They are doing our fighting for us. They are doing our work for us against tyranny, to contribute to help them in any way they can. This is, the U.S. very reluctantly went into World War II, but then that made that difference. So how can we help the people who today are making that difference for us? And freedom fighters in other countries around the world against all kinds of tyranny and fascism.
Yeah.
God bless them one and all. We just send them our love.
Yeah, great. There is a tremendous amount of support for Ukraine and the people there in particular. And it's wonderful to know that the human spirit that has the ability to be so resilient is still standing strong even against some of the unsustainable odds that we are seeing. So yeah, I bear witness with you on that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Sharon, is there a mentor person in your life, that still voice that you go to when you need to make certain tough decisions, you need to hear someone lead you or guide you? Is that mentorship sort of individual available to you in your life?
Yes, I have started to very carefully choose the people I hang out with.
Yeah.
And this includes my partners,
Yeah.
who are very supportive of the work we're doing. This includes obviously my family, and it includes my clients. I have the high level clients who in turn support this work enthusiastically and me personally. And then I have the spiritual work and the mental work that I do, because we always need to keep doing that stuff.
That's
So,
right.
right. So in Hildegard of Bingen talked about the still small voice inside. So I meditate and really just step aside, step back, and get quiet when I need to figure something else out.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks for sharing. So with regards to core and the future, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to? Are there any new projects on the horizon? Any new areas that you're looking to explore?
Yes. There's a shortage of things to explore. We are really starting to look at developing a cadre of coaches and facilitators and trainers who want to use this material, and we want them to use it. We want this to be a gold standard in strategic planning, in coaching, just a really easy methodology for people to fall back on. And we want to make our assessments, our methodology, our community of thinkers together, because I have certainly learned that when someone comes into our group, they bring this richness with them about how to make everything better. So that's what we're looking to do, is we really want to step up the outreach to people who want to use this material themselves for their clients.
Okay, great, wonderful. Let me just bring a scenario to you. I want you to imagine that someone is going into business for the first time. They have a desire to become involved in business, but they do not know as yet what exactly they want to do and how they want to do it. Can you work with such a person from, let's say, zero, from scratch, and help them to define, how they should proceed and what are the things that they need to do, what steps they should take to discover maybe their core competencies, and then convert that into some line of business? How would you approach a situation like that?
I do this
Yeah,
and have done this, and we want the person to build very strongly from the ground up, and from the ground up is what we mean from the inside out. So when you have an entrepreneur, and generally they come in with a really, really, really great idea, and they think if they build it, it will come, the clients will come, and you go, okay, so we need to take a few steps back. And I use this process that I've described, which is that we first need to help them define why they're going into business, what their core is. If they get that right, then the rest of them come out rather naturally. If they don't, if they just rush headlong into the idea or the potential market that's out there, or gee whiz, we need another one of these things and there's a place for it and we can make a lot of money, they're going to struggle. They're really going to struggle. So we want them to make sure they've checked all these boxes and that they've aligned all these elements. If they align these elements, they'll be very strong. If they don't, it's going to be a lot of work and it's not as likely to succeed.
Okay, great. So I want to look at something that is probably one of the most challenging things that a business that's already in progression, that is rebranded.
Ooh.
We have had a situation where a lot of businesses came out of COVID-19 and things may have eased up a whole lot now compared to 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. But some of them have struggled to continue and to stay in business. And some have learned to rebrand. Is that something that you take care of as well in core in terms of the business information that you offer? How can you help someone who's struggling now, may have been in business for 20 years, but due to the negative aspects of what took place during the pandemic, they're struggling, they need to recover, they need to rebrand. How do they do that? What do they do from there?
Right. They need to stop and answer the question about why they're in business now.
Okay.
With the new environment, with the new needs.
Yeah.
What is the point of their business? People tend to panic and just grab at markets.
Yeah.
And that is a very, that's not likely to succeed long term. But if they stop, they take a step back and they go, this is what we've been doing for 20 years. These are the things that we see have changed. These are the new needs. This is how we can help. This is the purpose we have going forward. These are the new needs and how we can address it. So they do need to step back rather than getting panicky and just grabbing at things.
Yeah, great. In addition to that, Sharon, and I like the approach that you took there with regards to the first thing they need to do is just stop.
Stop.
And ask the key questions. Stop.
Yes, right.
Ask the key questions that would open up the solutions that they're looking for.
Yes. Here's
the thing. We have an influx of AI companies coming on all over the globe.
Amen.
They're projecting apps and devices and all sorts of technology from so many different directions. And some people are actually panicking, thinking, oh my gosh, maybe AI will just take over soon and we will not have much of a human resource available. How do you see the adaptation for businesses with regards to the influx of AI? And is it something that can really help and enhance the effective and the efficient way in which they can run their businesses? Is it something that we should look forward to and grasp, hold on to?
I think that this is all part of our evolution.
Yeah.
And we need, and this is, I think, another tool.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to remember, when was it, in the 40s or something? People had all these science fiction movies in 50s and 60s, maybe. Yeah. And there are all these science fiction movies, and the machines were taking over the planet.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
and I have been thinking about, I said, I think we're kind of back to that panic, that fear we have. So I think we need to be alert, because we have seen, deep fakes, people pretending to be Obama speaking, we've had all of these really misuses of technology.
Yes.
So if a company looks at how can this AI serve, how can it enhance, how can it improve, how can it be an adjunct or, a support the work that we have, support our why.
Mm-hmm.
If support our why, then we're going to use it as a tool. And one of the issues that AI brings up is that we human beings have advanced technologically a lot faster than we have morally. And I think that's where the panic comes from. We haven't really, taken stock of where we are and what is the best and most moral and appropriate use of these things. How do we not put people out of business? How do we, bring wealth into the community and by our work?
Yeah, wonderful. I like your take on that. Thanks for sharing. I'm looking at people, and especially CEOs of companies, large organizations, and I'm wondering, how important is emotional intelligence in terms of how they approach communication and the giving of tasks to their employees? Is this something that you also address at core as well? Emotional intelligence for leaders?
Right, as part of developing all the intelligences. Now, emotional intelligence has gotten a lot of press, but in many organizations, it's poo-pooed.
Yeah.
And let me give you an example here, is that when you have the center and the four directions, there's really like an X that crosses here. You have an up and down line, and you have the side to side line. From an archetypal standpoint, the up and down line is the male energy, and the female energy is the side to side one. And this is important because emotional intelligence is on the female line. Okay. And so what you have is that when people in organizations say something's touchy-feely or too woo-woo, they're just pretty much being contemptuous of women and of the female energy, right? So there's a lot of really hard-assed women out there who are really dealing with the male energy. So it's just about the archetype of the energy. So what we want with balanced leadership is to have all of those intelligences connected and working together. Mm-hmm. So the intelligence of the center is your intuition.
Yeah.
The intelligence of the mind is obviously like your IQ and cognition. The intelligence of fire is that action thing. We get information if we go out in the world and we act.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is that fourth one of the water element. Okay. And then the tactical intelligence is, these are the habits we're forming. This is what works on the ground. This is what doesn't. Here's the data. And then the final intelligence is that connection to the divine.
All right. Yeah.
So emotional intelligence makes more sense.
Yeah.
If it's connected within this whole thing about this is how smart you can be, or you can just choose to not use these other intelligences.
That's right. That's right. You have a choice.
You do have a choice. Yeah. And
Right.
Historically, we've ignored a lot of that line, that female archetypal line in business. We don't have time for it. We don't have time to be humane.
Yeah.
We got to get the numbers. We got to push people to get the numbers.
Yeah, yeah. You got to get the sales up.
Yeah, you got to get sales up. And in the meantime, people are leaving your organization because they hate it.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
so you got to pay attention is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. So, Sharon, if you had a mega mic and you could speak to some of the leaders in the world, leaders of countries, um, sovereign countries, because they are the ones who basically drive policies and take care of all the utilities and the facilities for the people of their countries to either fail or succeed or be somewhere in between. What are some of the things that you would say to leaders today with regards to the approach they should take, not just from a political point of view, but from a eco-social point of view?
I would say that I want you to know that you are the point of the spear for evolution.
Wow.
And that, and that it is your responsibility and your privilege to, at this moment in time, lead us out of the difficulties we have experienced. We need you to be the hero that you were born to be.
Yeah.
And we need you to fully own your power and serve everyone in your sphere of influence.
Yeah. That's powerful stuff. So, servant leadership. I'm looking at several genres here, and I'm thinking servant leadership, student teacher. How do we get people to understand that that is the much better approach to communicate, not just politically, in business and overall in life? So that what you do is you give people the opportunity to feel that their inputs are valuable, that their story matters. And you're just here to support and to give a necessary guidance or lead to a place where they really need to go. And once you can bring that kind of potential out of them, it benefits holistically. But how do we get people to come out of that tunnel vision like space that they're in and see that kind of growth, development, all-inclusive sort of, servant leadership, student learner?
Right. So I would ask leaders to consider a history lesson about where we are now. And I only recently really thought about this and discovered it. So what we have just gone through with the political turmoil and COVID and this worldwide epidemic is reflected in history. And it makes me, in my bone marrow, believe that we are entering a new era. If you think to Florence in 1348 to 1350, that is when the Black Plague, the bubonic plague, came through Florence. Out of the Middle Ages, which were really kind of a rough period for humanity. So it came out of the Middle Ages, all that suffering, and then into this horrible period of the Black Death sweeping the world. And out of that came the Renaissance. Immediately after that was the Renaissance, where people like Michelangelo and Da Vinci and all of this political, social structures changed, and art flourished, and music flourished, and wealth flourished. That is where we could be right now. We could be coming out of this time of immense human suffering that we have struggled with. I mean, around the world. Through this epidemic, into the possibility that we could create a time when other Michelangelos and Leonardo da Vinci's, who by the way, their ancestors, there were probably lots of them in the Middle Ages. They just didn't have a chance. And it's like the geniuses in countries that are in the really tough economic situations, those geniuses are there waiting for us to lift the lid on them. And the leaders of companies and the leaders of nations, this is your obligation. You must do this for the sake of the planet.
Yeah, it's amazing, And I must compliment you for your rich mind of history and political and social values that you have just, that treasure trove that you just drove into.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. And it reminds me of a saying by one of our greatest minds, Albert Einstein. He said, the thinking that has gotten me this far is the same thinking that has created the problems that I now have.
Right.
And what I want people to understand by that, and I think that most of us do, is that we have to be progressive in our thinking and not just be victims of our current circumstances. A relationship with the past is not a relationship. History has already been written. There's no way to go back and change what has been done. But how about if we learn so that we don't repeat those mistakes of the past?
From your mouth to God's ears. Yes.
Yeah, that's the key to it. But some of us are seem to be stuck in that, I don't know, if morass of negativity, if I could, describe it as that. But at the end of the day, I see where you're coming from. And I think we need to have clearer minds, more vision, more purpose, more innovation.
And more courage. And more courage.
Courage.
Stay stuck because they're afraid that it's going to be worse if we move forward.
Yeah.
So
and you know what? It's a lack of courage that caused Kodak to lose their hold on the market. Because when they were supposed to go to a place that they didn't want to go because, hey, we are so accustomed with the Polaroid films and that.
Right.
When they were supposed to go.
You can't make us change, right?
Exactly. But on the flip side, look at it this way. Elon Musk, right? While people were talking about it and thinking about it, you know what he did? He wasn't just thinking outside the box. He acted outside the box. He took action. And look at the reward that he's gotten. So I think that there are people out there who are willing to just be pioneers and to go into where no one has gone before. I'm using an old Star Trek cliche. But at the end of the day, we need to have that kind of spirit, that kind of pioneering spirit that would take us to places that are undiscovered but are waiting to be discovered.
And I encourage the leaders who are looking at models out there that we look at doing this in a holistic or systemic way without damaging other human beings. I'm not a big fan of Musk. So we need to look at how that it's absolutely possible to lead people into a new place where more and more and more people benefit. We don't need the kind of sacrificing of people that we see in, we don't need to be Genghis Khan anymore.
I agree.
Okay. I think we do, that's an old model, and it had a lot of blood on the ground as a result. I don't think we need to go there.
No, we don't need to pay that kind of price anymore.
We don't need to pay that kind of price anymore. And if you believe that, you'll think of ways to do it. If you don't believe it, then you get kind of lazy and just say, off with 10% of these people, goodbye, that sort of thing.
Wow. Sharon, this has been an amazing episode.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your openness, your passion, your frankness, and the value that you have brought to the breakout room. We're just about to reach the end of the episode. And I have a comment from John Campbell, and he says, what he's witnessing is great research. I guess that goes to you, right? That's you take that. So you share with them now how they can make contact with you, how they can get in touch with CORE, maybe access the books, Amazon or wherever. Just share your hashtag handles with them so that they can reach out to you.
Excellent. Well, please take advantage of all the free stuff we have. We are really dedicated to paying it forward. We are so privileged. So you can go to core-learning-services.org. And that's a website where you can access free events and material. You can go to the Balanced Leadership page on that website and get a PDF that tells you what's in it for you, gives you a nice summary of what we talked about earlier today for leaders. You can go to the corecoachingconsulting.com website and learn more there. You can get hold of me on LinkedIn. That's Sharon Seivert. It's an unusual spelling. It's Eivert. And I love meeting people from around the world. That's how you and I got together, Andy. It's
That's right.
this is my idea of a fun time.
Exactly.
So we want you to take advantage of the free events we have and the free material we have, the books in the whole Superpower Balance series,
Yep.
and the most recent one, the Superpower Balanced Leadership in Unbalanced Times, audiobook,
Yep.
print, and ebook on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Sharon Seivert. I got it right.
You
And
did.
what helped me was I was looking at Seinfeld.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay.
You got it right.
You got it. Totally.
Yeah. You have been an amazing guest, my friend. And so I just want to thank all those who support our program, support our show, to really try to reach out to Core and Sharon and her wonderful international network and get that information that you need to have the right perspective about business and how you upgrade and deal with your people, how you communicate and take everything that you're doing basically to the next level in these challenging times. So until next time, this is Andy of Andy's Personal Development saying, always remember that you have the opportunity to gain health, happiness, and prosperity, and your story matters. Okay, so we'll see you soon, hear from you soon. In the meantime, I'm saying so long, shalom, Godspeed, namaste.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.